If you're thinking about getting a new car anytime soon, you've probably been wondering, will it have the next generation of Apple CarPlay, CarPlay 2? And the answer lies in the boardrooms of car companies. Today's video is brought to you by Brain.fm, science-backed focus music that sounds great, by the way. You can check it out, linked up down below. CarPlay, the original, the first version, it was plug and play, and it was cool. People liked it. They wouldn't buy a car that didn't have it. And it was way back in like 2022 when Apple announced CarPlay 2. They showed it off, I think, at WWDC, and it wowed people. People were like, whoa, that's legitimately one of the coolest announcements at the event that year. And then here we are a couple years later, after Apple had promised all these different brands were going to be on board, like Land Rover, Benz, Lincoln, Audi, Volvo, Honda, Porsche. And the CarPlay 2 news has sort of dropped off the face of the earth, which is too bad because all the images, the demos were like, it takes over all the screens in your vehicle, not just, one little screen in the center dash of the console there. It was like an immersive Apple-inspired experience, but it's been hitting some road bumps, so to speak. And I think the main reason why is because car manufacturers don't want to give up control of such an important component of the vehicle to an outside company. And so this is good and bad, I think, for consumers. Bad if you're an Apple fan and you wanted that. And I think Apple even, to some extent, made the calculation that, hey, if we're not going to do an actual Apple car, Project Titan died however many times it died, and here we are with no Apple car. If we're not going to have that, we might as well at least kind of like have a pseudo Apple experience in the cars where we kind of take over the interior to some extent, the tech aspect, and kind of deliver some happiness to people that way. And I gotta say, I'm looking at it right now, that preview image, and you got the widgets up there, you got some calendar information on top of kind of that old normal bit of screen that you saw. Got Apple Maps integrated. But I think because manufacturers are starting to put the brakes on, I'm actually fitting in a lot of unintended puns here, aren't I? I think there's a lot of skepticism at this point of like how much of this is actually going to roll out and become something that people see out in the wild and can actually use and enjoy. Now, on the flip side, there's a couple companies that have signaled that they're going to head down the Apple CarPlay 2 route. One of them is Porsche. If you are interested in that, you're in the luxury market, then maybe that sounds really cool to you. Another one, I believe, is Aston Martin. But again, these aren't like your average everyday cars, so we're not talking about mass market adoption here. It's very niche. And in that case, it's almost like, well, it's not even worth the effort. And by the way, Porsche is owned by Audi and VW Group. I have not enjoyed the entertainment systems, even if they're higher end stuff. It's been kind of glitchy and slow and whatever. So I actually think CarPlay taking things over for that group of cars would be a big upgrade, to be honest. But if you're Apple and you only have like a couple car companies on board and it's more on the niche side of things, then I don't know, is it really even worth it, to salvage the CarPlay 2 operation? And some manufacturers just coming out and they're like, we are not going to adopt this. Mercedes is one company that came out and they just said, no, we're not doing CarPlay 2. And so if you're a Benz fan and an Apple fan, then what's the deal there? What's going to happen? Let's be honest, they're not going to outdo Apple when it comes to software and stuff, right? Probably, for the most part. I mean, I know Tesla people are super excited about Teslas. And I know for a long time people were like, hey, I wish that I could get CarPlay in Tesla. But a lot of people have moved on past that and they're like, I don't want it. I don't need it. Real happy with how things are in the Tesla right now without Apple. But the original CarPlay experience is starting to look a little bit long in the tooth. People keep their cars for a long time and you get used to it. But by the time you get a new car, if it's just the same old experience, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, I think. I just want to take a brief second and let you know about our sponsor today, Brain.fm. I love Brain.fm. I'm literally never without this app on my Mac, on my iPhone, wherever I go, because it just sounds so good. But it's not just about the sound. Brain.fm is science-based, science-backed, and it will help you actually concentrate better. So it actually works as fast as just 5 minutes. And I love the interface. And it just really has quite an effect. Check it out. As you can see, people really love it. And if you check the link down in the description, you get 30 days free. That said, people have speculated, and I'm kind of gauging the conversation online about this, that maybe if there's enough consumer demand, it could push manufacturers to still deploy it and get active with CarPlay 2. I don't really know though, because I'm sitting there and if I was the car manufacturer, maybe offering options is a good thing. But also, it's pretty strategically dumb to seed those screens and that experience, I think, outside the company. You do a lot better to just hire a crack team of engineers and designers and stuff to come in and do things in-house. Doesn't always work out. I know Jaguar is doing their own thing right now that a lot of people are like, what? And some people are too afraid to just be like, I don't like that. And they sort of just be like, what's Jaguar doing? Have you seen what Jaguar is doing? I don't really like the direction that I'm seeing the design go with Jaguar. Change for the sake of change isn't necessarily a good thing, but here we are in 2025 and Apple's CarPlay website says first models arrive 2024, and it's kind of landing with a thud. By the way, overlooked by a lot of people, it's not just Benz that's saying no. I mean, GM, they're opting out of CarPlay as well. And so I mean, as an Apple fan, I feel like as somebody who's got an iPhone in the pocket, let's just put it like that, I would rule GM out then because I don't want whatever GM is going to put in there instead of Apple's experience. So I think that a lot of car manufacturers messed up in the first place by already incorporating things like Android Auto and CarPlay in there. So now that people have had a taste of it, it's going to be like, you don't want to turn that off when they've come to expect it. But what's your take on this? Are you feeling like you would not buy another car if it didn't have this CarPlay 2 in it? Or at least CarPlay at all? Or do you not really care? Does it not matter? Are you gonna grab a Porsche so you're like set to go no matter what? Let me know down in the comments. And also let me know if, as you're looking out into the future, you feel like it even matters all that much if we start to have more autonomous self-driving vehicles and maybe you're not even that occupied with the stuff that's on the dashboard. Maybe we're gonna start having it where like the seats are more like swiveled in and you're just kind of on your devices or whatever anyways, because you don't really have to pay attention to the road and stuff. Maybe it's like you just need the screen in your pocket or bring your iPad or something along and you don't even need the screens, to have the Apple experience. I don't know. This kind of gets crazy. So let me know what you think.